Aero-News Network's coverage of the 68th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Phoenix, Arizona, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Direct Fly USA proudly introduces the new Alto-NG, a single-engine, two-seat light sport aircraft for the North American market. This simple, all-metal aircraft design provides low maintenance cost, easy, comfortable access, and responsive flight controls. Equipped with the Rotax 912 engine and a ballistic parachute, the Alto-NG is reliable and safe. Learn more about the Alto-NG at directflyusa.com.
I'm currently using the Hartzell Talon, by far the best aerobatic propeller ever come out.
I use the Trailblazer. It adds performance to the Super Decathlon and dependability, and it's rugged.
Hartzell's been an excellent partner for Whip Air, just in terms of your product support as well as keeping an eye on the market and developing new products that meet demand.
It's helping us all have better performing airplanes.
It's such a proud honor to fly behind that propeller.
Alrighty folks, here we are. We are live at the 68th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show from the Phoenix Convention Center. We've been doing this a long time, and it sure feels like it about now, but one thing that's evident is that the community and the industry is alive and well. It is as innovative as ever. Yesterday's new product introductions showed a lot of thought, a lot of technique, a lot of engineering, and the fact that there is an industry that is going and growing despite anything that's happening in Washington, and we won't go there. We are excited to be able to work with you again. This is, I'm trying to remember, it's like 17th, 18th time at bat doing live at AEA. Actually looked at some of the early stuff we did years and years ago, and it was shocking just what we were able to get away with at that point with stone knives and bear skins, or so it seemed at the time. But the gear has matured, my staff has done an extraordinary job, and we have been proud and pleased to present things like yesterday's MPI and the opening speeches and discussions to you. We will continue to do so as long as we're allowed to do so, and more important than anything else, in support of an industry that supports all of aviation to its utmost. Starting off at bat, we've got David Gray, president of SEND, and more than anything else, a real innovator. You've done some really cool stuff. So tell me what's new.
Well, we came to show. First of all, we changed our name.
Yeah.
And we make AirTex, which is our base core product. But we started to make other products, Oasis and some other things for the military. And so we were expanding the company. So we said SEND, that's a great name for the company. So we changed our name. We made some incremental improvements to existing products, our map product. We continued to update software, and you know, the incremental improvement is what gives you longevity, and the customers love it. Literally, we have about 1,800 products that are out, and I have 0 in-house to be repaired. That's a good state of mind and a good place to be.
Good for the budget too.
That's good for the budget, but makes a lot of crews and mechanics and folks, installers, makes them happy that their customers are happy. So I want to start off and just show you, some of the improvements that we made. One of the things, and I say that what we have now, I don't know if this will show very well, but basically we now have a 3D presentation of what the airplane is doing in flight. And this will be mounted up on the bulkhead. So we have 3D map. This is an example. Here's another airplane, a King Air. Here's another airplane, a Learjet. But those are just some of the examples. And I say it's stunning because the graphics, the 3D images that we get from satellite, mapping. A lot of times as pilots, we get to see all that up front, but the people in the back are just seeing some old blasé maps. So we're able to go in a retrofit type circumstance, mount this right to the bulkhead of the airplane. So it's less than a ½ inch thick. Of course, we're using iPads, but this, I was in the display business for 20 years, and this iPad has got a tandem OLED. And the quality of the presentation, the pixels, things we used to talk about in pixels, it's way surpasses what anybody else does. And if it changes in the future, we can just make a change to the mount and drop in that one. So it's really economical. It's a quality presentation. It essentially, the pilot just puts in his flight plan and doesn't have to touch the display. It turns itself off. Goes through all the rotations and has a lot of customized things that can go in. But the big deal was the 3D and the mount. So you could put this in, and we've done this size in Falcon 900s and lower. Mm-hmm. And we can get them into smaller jets. And then we have, of course, Apple makes a product, the Mini, that you can actually do it in a Mini on a very, very small bulkhead in some airplanes. Can be mounted either portrait or a landscape presentation. So that's neat. We did that all in-house. Okay. We didn't go outside and contract some other firm to do this, and that makes me real proud of the quality of products that we're having. Our base product is a product called AirTex. And AirTex, it's a 1-pound box, provides texting, email, textual email, and voice calling anywhere in the world in 10 seconds. So it's just amazing to me. We have customers all around the globe, and that they can send and receive a message we could send to them in 10 seconds. I mean, we can assume a lot, but to me, there's a little bit of magic involved. And all that comes from a little bitty antenna on the airplane. And this is unique to our product.
Put that one anywhere.
Yes, and some airplanes actually come with an Iridium antenna already. Older systems, have evolved, and now ours is taking over that space of iridium. So, you know, I tell people, you got the world in the palm of your hand. So, and that's true. I mean, a lot of people don't need full-on broadband internet because it's expensive. And where that's headed, if you follow the industry, it's going to, you know, we talked earlier about Starlink and SpaceX and that, but they make an excellent product. They've got it on some airlines. I've flown it on JSX and lots of broadband, but the fees are about $10,000 a month, and we charge $500 a year, and that covers the first 2,500 texts. It's a nickel a text, just like it's been ever since I started some 8 years ago selling this, a nickel a text, and then your phone is about $1.65 a minute. So it's a really, really neat product, and we keep on enhancing it.
Well, it's certainly competitive in an area right now that's getting more competitive by the day. The airborne communication wars are fun to watch.
They are, and
a few of the competitors that we've seen in the past are long gone.
There's some consolidation, and there's some that are exiting, and I'm you know, we'll see.
And one or two kaput, yeah.
I believe that they're all competing for this wide, unlimited broadband. But think about this. Several of the companies have set up their structure, unlimited broadband, $10,000 a month. Now there are certain corporations that need unlimited broadband. There's people that are day traders, or they're in the media business like yourself, and they need that streaming and the quantity of information.
10,000 is nothing to us.
Well,
yeah, seriously.
You could park a BBJ in a hangar. When the price of your connectivity starts to affect your direct operating costs, which happens in the smaller airplanes,
amen to that.
Then you know, that's where we come in. And I think we're in a certain margin and a certain part of the business that is going to be solid for a long time.
Well, especially if you keep innovating the way you have.
Well, which brings us to the next innovation, I guess.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, so because we go to a lot of shows that you go to, Oshkosh, NBAA to AEA, we talk to a lot of operators. And the operators love the digital ATIS. Digital ATIS, for those that aren't aware, is a tremendous pilot tool, a huge safety tool, because you can receive digital ATIS in the sense that we have an Iridium product anywhere in the world. You can request it and get that information. If you have internet, you can of course request and get that information. But digital ATIS is only available in the United States at, I think, 76 airports. And those are usually your large volume, commercial, heavy iron kind of airport. Well, corporate aviation goes to a lot more airports. They're towered airports, and they have something called ATIS, which is not digital, but it's an analog. You're listening to a recording.
Yeah, that hasn't changed since the Stone Age.
No, it hasn't. And so the limitations there are, if there's any terrain in the area, that's going to block the signal. So I'll give an example. I have a customer that flies a
little problem called line of sight.
It is line of sight, exactly. So
details.
I have a customer that flies from Colorado Springs, and we know there's mountains there, and then he flies out here to Phoenix, to Deer Valley, and in Deer Valley is in a bowl out here. So it's mountainous. So in both areas, he gets a blocked signal depending upon which way he's headed. So we've come up with a way, which I think is very ingenious, and that is to capture the audio, and then using AI, we transcript it, and then we send it up to the airplane as a textual, just like a digital ATIS. So what we supply is information Bravo. We put either the METAR, which is a broadcast once an hour, or if they have ASOS, which is broadcast every 5 minutes, we put that out, and then we give them the approach and landing runways, and then again information Bravo if that was a phonetic coding. So it's not it's an advisory nature, and the purpose of that is oftentimes the airplanes are being let down about 200 miles away from their destination. They, you know, if you're up at 40,000 feet, 35,000 feet, you're coming down. Well,
you're not going to get bupkis out there.
No, you're not going to receive anything. But if the pilot can enter in the approach, I've got ILS 27 right. That takes a whole bunch of burden off the pilot, because normally what would happen, you come in, you try to receive it. Sometimes those transmissions are 30 seconds long and somebody steps over and you miss it. And so you got to try to listen to it again. Or I've been landing at Memphis when the ATIS is changing several times because of weather, and FedEx is coming in to land, and there's just so much activity going on. So pilots see this as a big safety factor, and the Citation Jet Pilot Safety Committee has been working with me, and we developed this.
Pretty sharp folks.
Oh, they're very sharp. The head of that is also on EAA's safety committee and MBAA's safety committee. And so they've been working with me to get this going. We now have 150 airports, and we are putting out, we can add on additional airports as we put this little device in an FBO or someplace on the airport to listen to it, and then they transmit that back to us.
Outstanding. What is your research and development process? Everybody has an interesting way of going about researching a new product or even conceiving of the need for a new product. What's your process like?
Well, we stay in touch with our customers, and we will bounce ideas off the customers, or the customer will have an idea and they'll bring it to us, and then we'll bounce that with other customers. And so we try to say, okay, that makes sense. You know, it's got to make sense, right? And then we're going to spend some money. We're going to prototype it. We're going to see what they think. Are we on the right track? And then eventually, then we'll bring it to market. And so this new product, this MyTIS, is available to our AirTex customers today. The first week of April, it'll be available to everybody through any connectivity. So if you have GoGo and Marsat or some other system, you can go on the internet and get it through FBO.
So it's pretty much agnostic, isn't it?
It is. It's meant for everybody. So through a free app that we have called FBO Link, which helps you connect to the FBOs when you're flying. See, what we're trying to do here is keep you heads up. Talking to an FBO as you're going into land is not the best thing.
No, you got other things on your mind.
You got other things going on. So it's an iterative process with our customer base. It has to make sense, and then we have to kind of figure out a way to get it accomplished.
Well, I'll tell you what, some interesting ideas from somebody who spent a fair amount of time in the system. The more information you can get me when I need it, rather than when I just, accidentally have it while I'm in the middle of something else.
Right.
That's having control over your information. I guess it's the name of the game here.
Or staying ahead of the airplane, right?
Well,
how basic is that? And so whenever you go into an approach and, oh my gosh, I got to get the ATIS and I got to listen, and you're not in control, that's where it gets a little hairy.
Gets to be tough. How is AEA 2025 treated you? What do you think about the community this year?
It's good. It's hard to get people to come to the show. It depends geographically where you're at, whether someone can take the time from the East Coast to fly all the way over here. But all that being said, we've seen people from overseas come here. So it's been a good show. I just talked to a fellow from New Zealand and seen some folks from some other countries, and some folks from Turkey today. And so it's interesting to get their feedback and see what's happening around the world. Overall, it's been real good for us to meet with engineering, to talk to some of the director level type people at other companies, and just the installation facilities. Like, oh, I put your stuff in, it works great, and so-and-so was such a big help. It's all about culture of the company. And since I'm an old guy, I've kind of implanted the culture that, customer comes first, quality equipment, and, it's been good.
Excellent. Well, it's one of the things that we've been able to give back to the industry, is not everybody can make it out to these things. And I got a very nice note, for instance, yesterday, Mark Scheuer at PS Engineering, who stayed home on this one, but he said, yeah, we were watching the NPI and all the presentations. There's 16 of us in the office watching it here, so we stayed in touch.
Yep.
So at least we're helping the industry to keep in touch in that particular regard.
Absolutely.
Washington is an interesting game right now. If you had the chance to speak to the powers that be in Washington as we nominate a new FAA administrator, as we break in a new Secretary of Transportation, and a whole lot of people up and downstream of the president, what advice would you give them about how to really help this industry in ways we haven't seen in a while?
Oh, well.
And we're pumping this right to Donald, by the way.
Yeah, we get.
We know he's a viewer. Hi, Donald.
We get in our own way as far as the government is concerned, and so we have a tendency to try to over-control some things. If you go out there, there's plenty of ideas. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of innovation. The things I'm talking to you today don't even reflect what's on the to-do list. I mean, we're in process with other products in STC process, and as you know, that can take time. And so it just so happens that the last 2 STCs that we've worked on, we've had new technicians coming into the FAA, and so that delays the process. Whereas, we've been making a product for many, many years, and we understand the process maybe better than the new people do, and we use the system, it still puts delays, allowing us to get information out. There are several things that we can do to bring to every airplane so we get off the radios more and we get back to communicating. This device that we all carry around is amazing. The processing power, the ability to capture data like we're doing with the MITIS and other things, it allows you to research that when the traffic's gone away, when time, you do it at your time, not necessarily the crunch time that analog system would create. One thing that I have a friend he works in a tower, and it is true that the towers are using computers that are updated by a floppy disk.
Oh, yeah.
And so we are way behind the whole scene. And then the other thing is as you know, last year I talked about spoofing, and I came out with a spoofing software enhancement to my product. We're still very vulnerable there, and I think we could do more. And I'm aware, just like the floppy disk, that we're behind the power line.
Well, David Gray, president of Send, I appreciate you spending some time with us. We will be waiting for the next press release. Obviously, it's in the works.
Yes.
I get a kick out of, there's a couple of companies you just got to watch. Yours is one of them because you just come up with the damnedest ideas. Yeah. And it moves aviation forward. Sometimes incrementally, sometimes bigger leaps, but the name of the game is forward rather than reverse. Right. David, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Alrighty, folks, time for a short break. We are live from the 68th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show from the floor of the Phoenix Convention Center. Well, third floor, right? Third floor. Okay, we got some altitude here, folks. We're cruising. We will be right back with our friends from Mid-Continent, Van and Todd Winter. Make a long story short, they got some powerful ideas. Inside joke. So we're looking forward to talking to them here in just a few minutes. Again, we are live from AEA 2025, Phoenix Convention Center, and we will be right back.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 68th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Phoenix, Arizona, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Looking for a new generation of proven and efficient aviation power plants that boast modern engineering, electronic ignition, and both direct and gear drive systems? With 100 horsepower to 240 horsepower, the Skyline and Redline engines offer uncommon value in an overpriced industry. Whether you are looking for fixed wing or rotor, MW Fly Americas has been established to service the American market with dedication and expertise. MWFlyAmericas.com.
Meet the first of a new generation of the M-Class family. The M700 Fury. An aircraft worthy of the name, an indomitable force. The M700 Fury transcends traditional limits with more power, blistering performance, a finely appointed interior, and the luxury of what matters most. Time. Experience the Fury. Join the legacy.
For over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated, an even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.
You got
Alrighty, folks, we are live from the 68th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show, AEA 2025, third floor, Phoenix Convention Center. Got a little altitude finally, and we are having a ball. It's been an interesting week so far. MPIs yesterday were interesting, innovative, and at times just plain old cool. So we're continuing now with checking in with some of the folks who are making announcements yesterday, as well as news throughout the industry. We're pleased to present from Mid-Continent Instruments and Avionics, Todd. Wave at the camera. There we go. There we go. And Van. You guys are related, right?
We are.
Yep.
The Winters.
Last I checked, yeah.
There we go.
The Winter boys. There's 3 Winter men who work in the company. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Let's get down to brass tacks. You guys had some announcements. Tell us what's new with True Blue Power.
Okay, well, what's new? I'm going to give that to Van.
Yeah,
Take it away.
We had, I got to watch the video from the closest seat in the house during MPI yesterday. So we got 2 new products that we're focusing on.
Right.
We have a power converter. So it's our first entry into the high voltage realm. So that converts 270 volts all the way down to 28 volts to power avionics and any other systems that you might need. And that's a 6,500 watt converter.
Okay.
So it's a TC6500. Lots of power.
Carries a little weight. Yeah.
Lots of power, small box.
No, it's lightweight.
Little weight. Yeah.
A lot of power.
A lot of power in a small box. So that was our TC6500. We are excited. That's kind of taking us into that higher power realm. See a lot of need for that with business jets. See a lot of need for that with defense and special missions. So we're excited to get that one on the market, expecting that one in the second quarter. And then another one that was really an answer to a customer question, sometimes a customer demand, is I kind of call it the Goldilocks of our USB charging port family. We have 15 watt chargers all the way up to 100 watt chargers.
Okay.
And yesterday we debuted the TA245, which not shockingly outputs 45 watts.
Okay.
So right kind of in the middle, just in that sweet spot. What's great about that charger is it allows us to bring more power into lower voltage aircraft. So we had high power chargers for a while, but they required an input voltage of 20 or above. So all my friends and customers at the Oshkosh's and Sun and Fun shows of the world said, man, we want a little bit more power on our lower voltage aircraft. So what's great about the TA245 is now the input voltage is back down to 12, so it can basically be installed in any aircraft. All products TSO'd, ready to go.
And ready to handle all kinds of interfaces?
Yes, of course. Yep. They do an intelligent handshake with any device that you can think of. We actually used a new charging protocol in this port that we don't have in our others. It's called PPS.
All right.
It's programmable power supply. So the analogy that we used in the video at MPI was, imagine if you were turning a stereo knob, and rather than having to stop at 5 volts, 9 volts, 12, 15, it's this nice smooth turn, and you can get into the very specific voltage. So if you have a device that wants exactly 13.8 volts, we can meet you right at that voltage. Makes the charging more efficient, keeps the unit cool, and it's less wear and tear on the devices as so,
outstanding.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I know a lot
tech.
of places that'll go.
Yeah,
Quite a few.
that's what we're hoping.
I imagine that was, you were talking about customer input. I imagine you get some pretty interesting requests
All
when
the
it comes
time.
to folks trying to make their panels do the job.
Yep, definitely.
We do. We also get a lot of stories about people who are unhappy with their charging. They don't know if it's charging, they think it's charging, but it's not keeping up, so they can't use their tablet or their device. And so we've integrated features that will give them maximum charging so they can utilize their device. Something that's dependable. By the way, all of our USBs from True Blue Power have a lifetime warranty. That's how confident we are in the quality.
Until you sell something like that to me, I can break anything.
Well,
We'll give you a new one.
just call me up. We'll send you a new one if you do it. They're pretty tough. And by the way, too,
Yeah, but
we've
you've known
got
me for a bunch of years. Tell me I can't break it.
Say.
Ask my wife. I can break anything.
Okay. But we've got Type C and Type A ports in that too. So, and you do get some feedback. So it's great. Basically, from an overall, USB is a touch point for the pilot and the passengers. We've got you covered. We actually have product on the space station, now down to a 172, military, commercial, airlines. If you need USB power charging solutions, including wireless chargers, True Blue Power has you covered, and they are some of the best, if not the best, USB type charging devices out there. So,
If you say so yourself.
I do say so. I confidently say so.
Well, it's one thing I do enjoy when you're confident in a product and when the product from the folks that we hear from the field stands up. There you go.
That's why I did the lifetime warranty. I said, how can we help people understand what they're getting? We are not necessarily the cheapest, but most people tell us
But
that
the
we are the
cheapest winds
best.
up costing you in the long run. I
It
learned
can.
that lesson a long
It
time ago in
can.
aviation.
It can.
Yep.
You go for the bottom, the bottom of the ladder, and you're going to be back to that ladder in no time flat. Don't ask me how many times I learned that. Oh my goodness. So what's on the horizon for both Mid-Continent and True Blue Power? What can we expect to see from you folks in the future?
Well, it's interesting. I love to talk about batteries.
Yep.
And that's a big part of True Blue Power. Most new aircraft coming to market, rotorcraft, helicopters, etc., will have a True Blue Power battery, main ship, emergency lighting. We are supplying advanced air mobility companies with small batteries. They do their own large packs. Of course, there's a lot of activity in that market too. So that's probably what you will see the most, because we are hitting all those markets. People are really happy with it. Van and his crew are also working on more and more STC opportunities so that people who use their aircraft a lot can do an upgrade. And again, the customers that do it, whether it's in a Caravan or a King Air or a R44, R66, they are very happy.
Future
We get
R88?
we expect to be on the R88. I'm so impressed with that aircraft.
Yep.
And you will see that they have integrated for the Mid-Continent instrument products. You will prominently see some of our 2 1/4 inch indicators, solid state indicators.
The flex gauges.
Based on the flex gauge, which
Yep.
you may recall.
remember
But
it
they're
well.
beautiful, and the job that they did integrating them in, wow, it's pretty. It looks
great.
nice.
It's going to be an interesting product, and it certainly is a departure from what Frank originally envisioned Robinson to be. But then again, this is 2025, and it's a whole different ballgame. Right now, how do you look at the avionics community, the environment we're working in? Are we healthy? Are we doing well? How do you feel about your place in the industry? What's happening out there?
Well, that is a good question. I am on the board of the Aircraft Electronics Association, so I get a lot of nice additional overarching information. The industry, I was so excited, I was sharing this with Van the other day, some of the things that I've literally just heard about that are on the pathway in the near future that will create safer skies, more utility out there, that a lot of it will be avionics related, right? New technologies can enhance safety of flight, utility, efficiency. So I'm very excited about that and the things that I see happening. We are looking for people. If you're interested in a great career, you may be thinking about other things like automotive or air conditioning or computers, but avionics is a great career field, and you can work in so many different places. Think of all the places that you know that have really interesting avionics things. And I even asked this guy the other day, I said, aren't you glad you're in aviation? It's exciting and fun. And he did say yes.
It is exciting.
And it is. It really is. It's wonderful. So overall, very good. And we need people. So we want you to be interested. We've got a lot of resources out there so you can learn about avionics and learn about being part of this very exciting industry.
Well, there you go. You want a job?
Yes, yes, and we are hiring.
We're hiring.
Absolutely, especially engineers. If you like to work on power products and high-end battery systems, we are literally hiring at Mid-Continent Instruments and Avionics, True Blue Power. But it's common. All of our good friends here in the AEA, there are lots of great opportunities.
Outstanding. Well, I know it's got to be a decent company to work for, because the same people I've worked with year after year after year are there. There's so much job shuffling in this industry, but what I don't see with you guys is, I've been talking to the same people for, decade plus. That tells me something. So
yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
So what's your recommendation for new people coming into aviation?
Well, I think that it is a really exciting career. I think that we're growing. We see industry partners growing. We see new companies coming into the market looking for solutions. So I do think it's definitely on an uptick of the new things that are happening. I think as we continue to work through existing regulations, new regulations, there will be a lot of things coming down the pipe, but I definitely think it's on the uptick.
And if you like to travel, just ask these guys. Do you travel much?
Quite often.
Okay. You get to go to some great places
on
too,
airplanes.
Yes. We're all over. We are all over.
Outstanding. One of the themes I'm working this week is talk to people within the industry and looking at Washington. Obviously, things have been shook up. They're looking to make changes fundamentally in how we do things, period, including FAA and transportation and all. And some interesting people are coming into the realm there, and a few folks are already taking some real interesting shots at it. Elon among them. And the last time I talked to him, he was excited about the opportunities, but dedicated to making things different. But like anything, they're looking for input. So this is your chance. Tell Washington how we can help aviation grow.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to put you on the spot or anything.
As I said,
this is the private line to Donald, by the way.
Technology and safety. This is, like you said, it's a bit of an unprecedented time. And changes, and even sometimes a little bit of chaos, can create opportunity. And there are people who are ready to seize the opportunity, again, and help people travel safely. So there are definitely some things that people probably said, well, we can think about this but never get it done. Well, this is a time when they're saying, you know what? This year, maybe we can start this, and maybe we really can do something significant that will make a big difference in a good way, good for everybody, and not just for the United States. We are global, we are worldwide, and most of the people here are the same.
The U.S. leads the world in aviation.
Yep.
So
we try.
If there's any place where we can really make a change in the world, it's the aviation community.
Yes.
And without being too specific, financial and regulatory challenges that we face unfortunately impact our customers, right? So if there are things that we see that present financial challenges, if there are regulations that are challenging for us, that means that they end up becoming challenging for our customers, because that impacts what we can get to the market, what kind of technology, and at what price. Yeah. So, we try and work with regulatory bodies on those things. And we have good organizations like the AEA, like the General Aviation Manufacturers Association, that we partner with to help advocate on our behalf, which is really advocating on our customers' behalf, which is the traveling public. So it's definitely a domino effect.
Well, Todd, if I can bother you for 1 second, that's something specific to AEA. They just announced an education program, a training program.
Yes, and a certification.
Bingo. But I know this is something that's been discussed for a long time.
Yes.
Could have a huge effect on populating an industry that's always looking for good people who have been trained right.
Right.
Your thoughts on that program?
I'm very impressed. There's been a lot of thought that goes into it. As you know, Mike Adamson, our president, has a long experience with education and scholarship programs. So I think things have finally come full circle we've learned a lot from other organizations, some of whom have been directly affecting avionics and or aviation maintenance, and we've got some great people who have dedicated a lot of time to where we put together a very thoughtful program for certification that will motivate people to get into the industry, give comfort level to those who are having their aircraft serviced, right, knowing, hey, this guy is a pro level person servicing my aircraft. So they've been through all of this training and all these gates. So we feel really good about it. It's just rolling out. I think it will be very positive. I've, like you said, I've seen other programs going way back, and there were always a few things that seemed to not be as much a benefit. This one, again, because it's kind of grassroots within our avionics industry, but related to other disciplines, I think it has the potential to really be a great thing for a long period of time.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, where can we get more information on both Mid-Continent and True Blue Power?
New website. I mean, website's always getting improved, but continues to be consolidated. mcico.com, and call us on the phone. We got a eager sales team. Love talking to customers. Love communicating and helping people out.
Todd or Van?
You can ask.
Absolutely.
You'll get Todd or Van if you call us and ask for us, and we're not traveling. You will get one of us.
Or even if we're traveling. And we actually have people you can talk to on the phone. And for the AEA and careers and things like that, it's AEA.net.
Yep.
And there's some really interesting things on there that can give somebody a start. And wherever you live, there's probably an AEA shop near you at the airport. Reach out to them and say, I would just like to come in and see your place and talk to you. Literally go there in person. They will welcome you in the door.
Folks, it's a great industry. If you're looking for a new career, highly recommended, and especially under the auspices of AEA, one of the best associations we've ever worked with. And keep in mind, I've been playing this industry for 54 years.
Yeah.
That's scary. Alrighty, folks. Tell you what, we are on deck here in a moment. I can't thank you enough for spending a little bit of time with us. Great job with everything so far this week, and we look forward to catching up with you down the line. Certainly at Oshkosh and MBAA and the like. And more important than anything else, keep doing what you're doing. It's been fun stuff to watch, and we like to see innovation. Go for it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And remember, we fly with you. We're right there.
There you go. Alrighty, folks, we are live from the 68th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show from the floors of the Phoenix Convention Center. We're going to be taking a short break. Coming back here in just a few moments, we're going to talk avionics test equipment. Want to get tested? This is the place. We will be right back. Alrighty, folks, we are live from the 68th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show, Phoenix Convention Center. I can't recall having covered AEA at Phoenix. I understand it's been over 20 years, so that might explain a few things, although we've been covering AEA live for like 17, 18 years, and then before that, in various iterations for Aero-News, and even before with our paper publication, US Aviator. But it's a neat location. I've always liked Phoenix, especially since I used to skydive down at the Gulch, Costa Grande, and hang around with the home builders down at Eloy and so forth. So this is old home territory, though it's been a while, and it's kind of a lovely place to hang out. And the food situation here ain't bad either. So great stuff. Let's talk business. We are here with Ed Latimer. We are Director of Avionics Test for Viavi Solutions. We have not talked test equipment here much. It's just very rarely somebody come up with something and go, hey, I got something new, talk to me. First of all, tell me what the company does, what your specialties are, what's your target market?
Well, Jim, thank you very much for having us here. So speaking of Phoenix, Viavi's headquarters is actually in Chandler, Arizona, which is just on the southeast side of Phoenix.
I've gotten a lot of trouble in Chandler.
Mm-hmm. So from a historical perspective, right, as I'm leading the avionics test group at Viavi. Our group's history comes from JC Air, BF Goodrich, IFR, probably know many of those names, purchased by Aeroflex, short stint under Cobham, and then Viavi acquired our group. So that's our legacy and our history then leading up to Viavi.
A hell of a legacy.
Absolutely. Recently, Viavi has also added to our portfolio Jackson Labs and then Inertial Labs, which cover the position, navigation, and timing space as well.
Okay.
Now, Viavi as a whole, on the test and measurement side, focuses on test and measurement across many different activities to include cellular, as well as fiber, Ethernet, and radio test, in addition to then our group's focus area on the avionics test side of the house. So that's a little bit of Viavi in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, here on the floor of AEA, we've got a huge assortment of people doing business in various ways, but the core of everything is the avionics shop. These folks are the backbone of GA and BizAv and, of course, high-end commercial aviation. How do you tackle each of those markets? What are you doing for them?
Well, in the general aviation market, of course, we have things across the navigation communication test space. A big one that we announced a number of years ago at AEA is our AVX 10K that replaced the legacy IFR 4000 and 6000 products for doing those testing. So for the installation, for the certification, for the annual maintenance. Last year at AEA, you may also remember that we introduced the PSD90-3, an AC and DC capacitive tester for fuel systems, hydraulic systems, and oil systems. And primarily the new thing that was introduced last year was then the ability to detect contaminated probes.
Okay, that's not a small topic.
Also in the past year on our AVX 10K, of course, we've been continuing to add to the roadmap on it with respect to enhancing some of our existing options via software upgrades. So a guided test capability now to the communication and navigation test capabilities, as well as then over-the-air power measurements in the ComTest capability.
All right.
Now, new this year, as we announced in the new product introductions, is our GPS Osprey, which is an 18-channel GPS simulator with a built-in antenna coupler. As we know that the FAA and the FCC are starting to crack down on the hangar GPS repeater installations.
Oops.
As that's having issues then bleeding over, hangar doors open, causing issues then to GPS approaches, replicating signals, multipath, and so on, other issues associated with that. So that's really our big announcement this year, which is the Osprey system to help out our existing customer base that are typically operating inside of the hangars, but also may need this kind of a capability if aircraft is stuck in somebody else's hangar and they don't have that ability to drag it out. So connection with a smartphone application, either on Android or iOS. You can easily download GPS Almanac data, put in waypoints wherever you want it to be, as this will now simulate that aircraft position, transmit that GPS signal to the avionics, and you can now verify your install, do other troubleshooting. You can also put together dynamic routes using the app and upload that to the simulator, and now have your aircraft think that it's flying around on a route changing altitudes. And to support both the single GPS antenna install as well as the dual GPS antenna installs that we see on many aircraft, we have two different configuration options for that.
Outstanding. How is the industry receiving your more recent announcements?
We've had a tremendous amount of interest here at this AEA. Almost everybody that has stopped by the booth had seen the new product introduction and came by to check it out.
Well, I understand the regulatory environment is not making anything easier in that particular realm, so I'd imagine a product like that is quite welcome. What is your R&D and most specifically the development process when you decide to tackle a piece of equipment like this? Because the one thing I do know about the test programs involved here is that if we thought the regulatory environment was bad enough for the end user, talk about the folks building the gear that help that end user get certified.
Well, we have for our group a R&D team that's primarily located in Lenexa, Kansas, where our avionics team is, and we also then have
that's a hotbed of activity out there.
additional R&D engineering in Wichita, Kansas, which is where our primary manufacturing is done for our team as well. So it's a lot of gathering requirements from our customers, seeing what the need is, in particular with the latest GPS simulator offering, really trying to basically see how simple we can make it. Because we know that we want this thing to be small, lightweight, easily transportable, but then easy to use, which is why it really drove us towards a mobile application as the primary interface for the control. So it takes a lot of different talent bringing all that together. Part of that, however, was actually the Viavi's recent acquisition of Jackson Labs, because it was through that acquisition that we then had the much smaller form factor GPS simulator in order to enable this capability. So it was that merging of the companies being able to bring this to light.
It may be good, but it ain't great until it's smaller. Oh,
exactly.
Wow. I would imagine the interface between your company and folks on this floor has to be fascinating. What are the shops telling you right now about their needs, and more important, what they expect from you?
Well, there's a reason we've got a continued roadmap on things like the AVX 10K and quite frankly a lot of our products, because the shops always want something that's easy to use, can carry in the field. But there's also the emerging standards, such as the new ADS-B standards with DO-160, that need to get incorporated into the products, because as those new standards come out, now new test capabilities need to go against those. So here at AEA, we're focused primarily on the flight line side of testing, things that are in the hangar out on the ramp, but our group also develops and upgrades bench test equipment as well for the folks that are developing, creating new avionics. So we work with many of the OEMs in addition to the field maintainers as well.
I would imagine, we talked about end users and the regs and certifications that they have to deal with. What kind of regulatory environment affects the folks that actually build the test equipment? To what standards are you developing this equipment, and what does this community and the general aviation, BizAv, and commercial community not know about what you do in that regard?
Well, our facility is ISO 9001 certified. With respect to the other regulatory agencies, of course, we have to follow FCC compliance regulations. Internationally, we have to follow CE, and then in many different countries around the world, then there are additional similar ones to the FCC that we then have to follow for them also. So making sure that we are able to sell our test equipment all around the world means that we have to follow a lot of different standards.
One of the conversations we've been having with everybody that's been coming up here is the ability to find good people. The folks we're trying to hire, the folks that we're trying to train, for lack of a better way to put it. What are you looking for right now in terms of the folks that are staffing your companies? Where do you find them? What do they need that you're seeing lacking?
Well, that's a good question. As with many things these days, things tend to be software defined. So just like with the AVX 10K, very fantastic piece of hardware in order to now realize new capabilities that we've been adding, such as this summer we're coming out with a headset adapter so that you can plug in either your 2-pin or single-pin headset into the test set and now communicate into the cockpit. Hardware is there. We've made a small hardware attachment that goes onto this, but then a lot of the rest of it ends up being software smarts with the various firmware and software upgrades added to the system. So there's a lot more reliance these days on now having software engineering on the long tail end as you continue to add more things to the roadmap.
Interesting. Have you had a chance to look over this new certification program that AEA has introduced for training?
Which one is that, Jim?
The CAET program.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had a chance to look over that? What is your opinion of what they've done with that?
Okay, well, I haven't had a chance to look over it quite yet, but I'll take a look after this.
Yeah, no, I just talked with Todd Witter, who's been on the board, and they seem pretty enthusiastic about it. The fact that the industry is finally deciding for itself how it's going to train in the future is both problematic as well as welcome. So we'll see what happens with all that. how can people get more information about Viavi, and more important, what part of the industry really needs to know more about what you're doing?
Well, definitely folks that are maintaining aircraft, are doing avionics installs, have to do those certifications. Definitely come and check Viavi out. It's viavisolutions.com. And if you want to go straight to our avionics section, it's viavisolutions.com/avionics.
Alrighty. Well, we appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us. You've been very well prepared, and I sure appreciate that because, well, I'm happy to be acquainted with so much of the aviation world and so many of its different environments. The test area, since I haven't worked as an avionics tech, is a little bit of black magic. And the more I spend time in the forums and the sessions and so forth, the better educated I get. But frankly, you're in the black magic stage with me still, but I hear nothing but good things about you, and we sure appreciate your time. And once again, welcome to Aero-News. I'm glad we were able to work with you this time, and we will be back with you in the near future.
Sounds good. Thanks very much.
Ed, thanks so much for your time, and thank you for your service.
You as well.
Alrighty, tell you what, folks, we got, oh my goodness, Tom Harper from Avidyne. This is going to be fun because we can bust Tom endlessly. We've known him for a long time. I've flown a bunch of his gear. He hasn't hurt me yet, so he's on my good side. And more important than anything else, they're doing really cool stuff, and it's about to get a lot cooler with certification of a whole new glass panel series that I've been waiting for, especially since it's an outgrowth of the dear departed R9 series, which frankly was some of the best stuff I ever flew. So this is the 68th annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. We're going to take a quick break. We will be right back with Tom Harper from Avidyne, Director of Marketing, all-around good guy, and a guy I am going to give a lot of crap to because it's so much fun. And again, thank you, Ed, and Viavi Solutions, and we'll be right back.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 68th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Phoenix, Arizona, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
The future of USB charging power has arrived. Introducing new ultra-fast charging TA360 USB chargers. Unlock the power of USB Power Delivery PD technology. Max power. Multiple configurations. In-seat, cabin, cockpit, and galley USB power. And a direct upgrade for all TrueBlue Power USB chargers. Compatible with any USB electronic device. Easy to install. Backed by the best. TrueBlue Power, the USB experts.
The legendary BD4C program is building an exciting future for those who want a rugged four-seat family flyer with a proven history. The SureWings program produces a complete kit and builder assist program that gives you everything you need to be flying a BD4CS in record time. For conventional kit builders, BD Aviation has parts, partial kits, and full kits for the 190-mile-per-hour BD4C that has logged thousands of hours. Visit SureWings.com and BDAviation.com for more details.
Are you ready to ace your FAA drone pilot knowledge test, get your remote pilot certificate, and start earning money? Well, flying a drone is a great tool that can open up new business opportunities for anyone. Realtor, insurance adjuster, videographer, or commercial weekend drone warrior, you need to fly legally. Whether you're pursuing your initial Part 107 remote pilot certificate or you need a renewal, King Schools has a course just for you. So start learning today at kingschools.com.
Alrighty, folks, we are live once again from the 68th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show from the Phoenix Convention Center in Phoenix, Arizona. I have no idea what the temp is outside, but let's just say this is kind of a warmer location than most, even coming from Florida, but we're liking it, and we've really enjoyed the couple of days we've been here, even though the trip out here was a bear. At any rate, we are pleased once again, one of many, many times, to welcome Tom Harper of Avidyne. He is their Director of Marketing, and we are here to talk about what's the latest and greatest at Avidyne and what's on the horizon, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yes, sure.
Tom, what's new? What's going on? Tell me.
Well, probably the newest news is our president and founder, Dan Schwinn, is receiving the Richard McSpadden Award from our friends at the AOPA this evening at Reagan National.
Okay.
So it's part of the Bob Hoover Awards, annual awards. Mm-hmm. So that's a big honor for his contribution to aviation safety, including the first PFD for light GA, the big glass.
I remember.
Our digital autopilot system.
Remember that too.
So moving maps, all of that Dan drove a lot of that technology in the very early days. So very proud of that, and I feel like it's long overdue for Dan recognizing his accomplishments. As for what we're talking about here at the show, the Vantage 12 is our big push this year. We're closing in on certification. We've literally got all the paperwork submitted. We're simply waiting for it to get signed off, and we're starting our initial our initial installation. And we bought a pristine G3 airplane that we're going to do the full install in the first week of May. Mm-hmm. And record all that and make training videos for the dealers, and it should roll out from there. Hopefully we'll have an STC by then.
Just waiting for Uncle Sugar to come back from lunch, huh?
Exactly.
Long lunches up there. What is the deployment strategy for that product right now?
Well, obviously it's targeted directly at the Cirrus market. Right. The Integra Cirruses were built from 2002 to about mid-2008. So there's a good number of those airplanes. Most of them are in still the same shape they were when they delivered from the factory. Some have already had IFDs put in them, some already have DFC-90s put in them, and a few have competitive brand stuff changed over, but they can all get to Vantage 12.
All right.
That's the beauty of it. And basically we're taking out the old glass, putting in 12-inch touchscreen, hybrid touch, with synthetic vision and dual AHRs, which those folks in those Integra airplanes only have single AHRs now.
Right.
So this has given them a lot of those benefits that the new technology can deliver.
Outstanding. Now, do you have a strategy post-Cirrus, or is that just what you're going to concentrate on for the time being?
If it's going to keep us busy in the short term, obviously there are other Integra-equipped airplanes out in the world, the Pipers, the PA-46, the PA-32. Those seem like they might be good candidates. So we'll see. There's no announcements on that at this time, but those seem to be ones to at least be looking at. But we've got our plate full with the Vantage 12 rollout. We're going to do some initial installations with some key dealers to kind of ring it out, make sure we've got our all of our ducks in a row, and it's a good, solid customer experience. And then we'll be able to open it up a little bit and start bringing it to more and more airframes.
What's the installation process going to be like?
Well, obviously, one of the prerequisites, you need to have DFC-90, you need to have IFDs.
Okay.
You can do everything at once, but if you come in with an airplane that already has a DFC-90 and the IFDs done, which a lot of folks have, we're just going to swap the displays. It's a matter of bring it in on Monday and fly out on Friday.
Wow.
It could be even less than that, I think, as the dealers get more familiar.
Yeah.
So
that's
without
those
quoting
airplanes
hours,
at a premium, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to bring them into the more, that Integra stuff's 20 years old now, and 20 years plus. So.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Yeah, since we were there when it delivered the first time, yeah.
I remember flying them. Good grief. Oh, the good old days.
Yes.
It's going past fast, too. Well, it's exciting to see this come about at this point. The regulatory environment hasn't helped you at all, but we're hoping that that'll change with time. But it's just nice to see that this project's been pursued, keeps being pursued, and is finally coming to fruition. Anything else on your plate?
I say that's most of our focus right now. It's just really doing that. I mean, we have mentioned, without making any formal announcements, about a follow-on smaller Vantage product that would go into the masses of air six-pack replacement, type of product.
That would be a hot one.
So that's going to be something probably a follow-on next year, if not later. But it's something to look forward to. It's the migration of that product line into the rest of the market. So.
We'd love to see something along those lines, because the methodologies of what you've done with the system, and this is, of course, especially entrenched in me from my long experience with R9, was still, I haven't flown anything better from a standpoint of operability, manageability, and frankly, just doing things fast.
Yeah.
Because, brand G takes forever. Twist, turn, punch, this, that, and the other. And that was just not a methodology to me that suggested really good thinking about it. But the way you approached the methodologies with Integra, then R9, and so forth was sweet.
Yeah.
I liked flying it. I really did. And every time I ran into Miami to go to work down there for flight crew and so forth, and they'd switch a runway on me, if that had been G1000, it's a chore. And R9 days, a couple of button pushes and go, okay, are you done?
Yeah.
I am, and boom.
Well, the beauty of what we're doing now is, of course, R9, for some of you that don't know, was our next generation of Integra after what was in the Cirrus, is the E1.
And it was sweet.
And Integra R9 had integrated radios, so it had blades in the back of the displays. So it no longer had federated radios. It was born into when the market was not doing well in 08 and 09, that time frame. It was a tough time for the market. But we've taken all that technology of R9. In fact, our IFDs are running R10 software.
Right.
It's the 10. And with Vantage, that becomes 10.3. So it's just the next evolution.
Pretty stuff.
But all the operational UI that you're used to with R9 is embedded in the Vantage and the IFD system, so it'll be very familiar. And even for folks coming from the old legacy GNSs in the Cirrus,
yeah,
we kept a lot of the main functions the same, like doing direct to, tuning the radio, those sort of functions all operate the same, but we've given you all these other options for doing it a lot easier and entering airways and easy holds and approaches, etc.
Holds were a dream.
Visual approaches as well. So.
Yeah, he got to the point where, yeah, go ahead, give me a hold. I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
It was pretty neat
With
stuff.
graphical feedback as you're entering it, yeah.
Well, that was the nice thing about it. You could see everything you were doing, and more important, the trend data was always available.
Yeah.
So you knew what you were doing and what you were about to do.
Yeah.
And
so Vantage will give you that. And again, the things that these Integra customers, and many of those airplanes from that era have changed hands sometimes 1 and 2 and 3 times. So these guys are looking for the new technology. But one of the things is Integra has a single PFD, a single ADAHRS.
Mm-hmm.
Vantage has got dual AHRS. So if you lose a PFD, it'll fly through, the autopilot won't even disconnect. You'll just keep flying. And your MFD will look exactly like your PFD did, so that you're not having to all of a sudden learn new symbology. It's everything exactly presented as you'd expect.
Outstanding. Well, you're going to have your hands full, of course, with Cirrus for a while and some of the similar airframes. The thing that a lot of people have been asking is, what are your designs for the rest of GA? What are your thoughts about that with the system? How easy is it going to be adapt, and when might we see that in the future?
Yep, there's some airplanes that the Vantage 12 would fit into.
Yep.
Remember, 12-inch glass just won't go in a lot of legacy airplanes.
Yep.
It simply won't. But like, your PA-46, your PA-32, the newer ones, the 6Xs and stuff.
Yeah, nice big panels.
Big panels.
Yeah.
So that seems like a good opportunity. But moving down to a slightly smaller piece of glass, we can bring that same level of situational awareness and ease of use, touchscreen, etc.
Yeah, we're ready.
That'll get us into a lot more airplanes. They'll also maybe start certifying our autopilot and being able to work with existing new autopilots as well. So, a lot to undertake.
What does pricing look like for Vantage?
Vantage 12, if you've got the IFDs done and the DFC done, just changing out the glass, the list price on that's $33,000.
Okay.
For the glass. So it's a pretty low bar in terms of getting into a dual AHRS Synviz 12-inch glass. If you have to do the whole thing, it probably rolls up with new IFDs, autopilot, and glass. You're looking around, low 80s, maybe with labor in the low 90s.
Okay.
But it's a significantly lower price than a comparable competitive system.
Why tackle this project now? What was the modus operandi behind taking it on, especially this generation of Cirrus?
Well, we've always seen that Cirrus fleet, if you will, as we didn't want to abandon them. We still support all those airplanes. In fact, Avidyne supports every product we've ever made still. And we've provided over the years, we added WAS to those airplanes as a field upgrade. We added data link, ADS-B, all those kind of things incrementally as we moved along. And this just becomes the next step is, okay, how do I get touchscreen? How do I get Synviz? How do I get dual AHRS? So that's what the customers are looking for, and it allows them to keep that airplane and extend the life of it.
Interesting. The crowd here at AEA, we've been talking to people from throughout the industry about how they look at the health of the industry, where they feel their place is within it at this point. What's your feelings about Avidyne within the AEA community and where the AEA community is right now?
Yeah, I think we've got a great group of manufacturers here. Certainly we've got a strong dealer network.
Mm-hmm.
Avidyne products are very popular in the market. I mean, if you want an IFR GPS in this market, there's only 2 places you can get them. And
yeah,
we're one of them. And the reason there's ononly 2 is because it's really difficult to do.
And you guys don't cop an attitude.
And I'll leave that to you to decide. But, it's a tough business, but everybody that in Avidyne, we fly, we live it. It's all we do is general aviation, and we're passionate about it, and I think it shows in our products.
We've been talking about training, and we've been talking about finding people to hire in this business, and AEA's just taken a pretty aggressive step with a certification system for the next generation of training avionics technicians. Yeah. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's great what Nick's doing and his group. Really good. I mean, as having someone in my family that's in the automotive side doing, getting his ASEs, it's a credential that shows your expertise in the field, and having this new AECT, did I get it right?
AECT, yeah.
AECT, that credential is going to carry a lot of weight, and as you get AECT Pro for the guys that are more seasoned, it gives them a way to advance and have a credential that shows, hey, look, I put in the work, I put in the time, I'm highly qualified as a candidate or as an employee. Yeah.
Are you having the same problem everybody's talking about, finding qualified people?
It's tough. We're certainly hearing that from our dealers. Technicians are tough to find. It's a very competitive market out there. So at Avidyne, we don't do installs ourselves, as we have a hangar and we do our STC certs and installs. And we've had really good luck hiring folks out of the military that have worked on airplanes or helicopters. We believe strongly in supporting the veterans. And that's just been a really fruitful, if you will, avenue for getting new employees to work on our airplanes and help us do installs and certifications. And I hope to see that dealers are doing that as well.
Excellent. Tom Harper of Avidyne. Tom, tell people where we get more information on your products.
You can visit us online at avidyne.com. We're on there, and we're here at the show at booth 322.
Alrighty.
All right.
Folks, we're going to take a quick break. Oh boy, you know who's following us? Rick Perry.
The Rick Perry.
The Rick Perry. I'd run as fast as you run as fast as you can, because I can't. I'm strapped down here. I'm not going anywhere. Oh, what a shame.
National treasure.
I'm telling you. Alrighty, folks, we are live from the 68th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show at the Phoenix Convention Center. We're going to take a quick break and, frankly, be ready for some interesting discussions. Mr. Regulation, Rick Perry of AEA will be here in a minute, and we're just going to hit him with all the tough stuff. No prisoners, I promise. We will be right back from AEA 2025. Folks, we warned you. We got Rick Perry from AEA, Mr. Regulation. Once we start them, we're not quite sure we can stop them, but we'll do our best. We'll see what happens here. Rick, welcome to AEA Live, and more important, to the Aero-News insanity that occurs every year with AEA.
Thank you.
Well,
nice being here.
Well, we always have a ball talking to you, no kidding. But right now is a very interesting time to be talking to somebody who is, shall we say, over-acquainted with the regulation process.
Yeah.
And also very well acquainted with the Washington process, such as it is. Okay, just let's keep it clean, but how bad is it out there right now?
It's a loaded question, okay?
Have you known me to do anything else with
No,
it? I mean,
no.
serially. Ugh.
So, I mean, you know, I've done, I don't know, 6, 7 administrations now. A lot of it is normal. A lot of it is not abnormal, but aggressively normal. And a lot of it is the sky's falling in the macro, which stresses everybody out.
Yep.
But not as impactful in the micro at the individual agencies, etc. So a lot of it you just have to distance yourself from the noise. As we know, every administration, there's routines. An executive order is signed by the president. President rotates out, executive orders go away. New president comes in, signs his own executive orders. Quite often, it focuses on the interest of that administration. So that's why you see a lot of this. The current administration is wonderfully interesting because, first of all, it's the first split administration of anybody that's alive today, right? You have to go back 100 years to find the last one. So everybody looks at this and goes, oh my God. And Wednesday before we came here, there were 142 executive orders. And it appears as if, well, where'd this come from, right? What people don't realize is this is not year 1 of an administration.
Oh no.
This is year 5
Absolutely.
of an administration. And what this administration...
And he's had 4 years in the interim.
Exactly.
To think about it.
And so what this administration has that no other administration in recent history has had is a 4-year start, a 4-year what went right, what went wrong, how would I do it over again, how would I do it differently if I could do it over again. And so when you go into year 5, all of this is orchestrated to fulfill the promises of the election.
Yeah.
And so when you kind of boil all that down, it almost normalizes a lot of that, okay? That's not to say that, you know, the reduction in force isn't causing a lot of angst, you know?
Yeah.
You know, but that's also part of what was promised. If you look at the growth of the federal workforce over the last 4 years, coming out of COVID, a lot of that kind of stuff, a simple reversal of that creates a lot of what we're seeing today. Yeah. And so...
And yet at the same time, this is the stuff that previous administrations were arguing for but never did, and here we are.
Well,
when it comes... That provides some real interesting counterpoint.
You know, the fraud and abuse part of it, which is, and it's a terrible thing to say, but the humor of the fraud and abuse part of it is that there's not a politician that I'm aware of that hasn't raised that issue as part of a campaign promise sometime in their career.
Yeah.
And yet, when somebody actually does it, you know,
the sky is falling.
Well, but it comes down to NIMBY.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we want this, but not in my backyard,
Yeah.
right? No, this is my pet item, and so it's an interesting time, to say the least.
Let's talk a little bit of specifics. I've got people right, left battering down my email addresses going, okay, what the blank is going on with Mosaic? It's what light general aviation, or mid-general aviation and sport aviation have been looking for forever. It's a game changer for a lot of things, and yet we've been led up the bridle path and nobody has said I do. What can we expect? Rick Perry prognostication.
Best guess, because nobody knows. So there's 3 executive orders I'll point out. The first executive order was a automatic holding of every rulemaking that had not been published in the Federal Register. Okay?
Okay.
So it could have gone completely through the 5-year process, and at the 11th hour and 57th minute,
yeah, we're still hosed.
It basically draws it all back and has a mandatory review by the Secretary of Transportation, the Office of Management and Budget, and primarily Office of Secretary of Transportation, Office of Management and Budget, and implementing this administration's vision of things. Okay, doesn't change a lot of content, but it will revise things. Realizing that in the case of the FAA, the majority of the FAA rulemaking has to jump through some 13 or 14 different regulatory hurdles that apply to the FAA, not to industry, okay? They have to do Paperwork Reduction Act. They have, all these different laws that a executive office has to go through. And so they're reviewed twice in the process. Once during the NPRM process, before the NPRM is published, it's reviewed to make sure that it conforms to the requirements. And then after it goes to public comment, comes back in and is revised and gets ready for republication, the last step before the Federal Register is, again, these executive offices, okay? Well, so first executive order comes out and says, all right, cease and desist everything that has not been published and rue it. That's not new, okay?
No.
Every administration does that. And so what we end up with is that the last 3 months of one administration will pull back on a lot of routine stuff and really focus on high priority stuff.
Okay.
The first 3 months of a new administration reviews everything from the past administration to make sure it's aligned with where we want to be, okay? And so this is normal. The other 2 executive orders, one is, so in the president's first term, we had a mandate for a 2-to-1 reduction of regulations for every new regulation. Yeah. Keeping in mind, this administration prides itself as being pro-business.
Right.
So they want to reduce the cost of government to businesses. And so first term, 2 for 1. I read something not too long ago that said that he actually accomplished 2.6 for 1.
Wow.
That's macro. That's not 2 for 1 in the FAA.
Yeah.
That's macro. That's government. It's executive branch holistically. Now, this term, he went for the long ball, and he's going for 10 for 1. Okay? So that means for every regulation, policy, and guidance, 10 have to be pulled. Now again, it's macro, not micro. I was part of the committee that looked at the FAA the last time and identified opportunities to pull some legacy regulations that simply didn't apply anymore, right? So we created that list. That list exists today, so that's there. The third executive order is a mandate for a net zero.
Okay.
All right? And what that one is saying is, we've got this 10-to-1. Doesn't matter what you do. At the end of the fiscal year, there will be no new costs to business. Okay? So we've got these three things that is being reviewed by the Office of Secretary of Transportation as well as OMB. All right? So when we look at Mosaic, all of this stuff has to go back through this process again. My crystal ball says I don't expect Mosaic at Oshkosh, which I did.
Yeah,
okay.
same here.
I kind of expected that was going to be the highlight. That was our focus.
That was what everybody was aiming for, and we know the FAA was as well.
I do not anticipate that.
Okay.
Now, we do have some positives that have happened with the first 2 months of the administration. Secretary Duffy was announced and confirmed very quickly.
Yes.
So the Secretary has put his office in place to allow for this throughput of information. So that helps those rulemakings because that gives it an office to do the reviews with, okay? Now, the downside is that on the FAA side of things, most of the senior leadership in the FAA in aviation safety, well, not just aviation safety, but the administrator and the aviation safety offices are all acting. And so they tend to continue day-to-day operations, but don't really have the ability to put people in place to really move this process through. And so that's a negative, but the Secretary of Transportation is a positive. And so it may not be quite as long as I anticipate, but I would be surprised to see much rule other than just basic ADs and basic immediate action things. I would not anticipate seeing things until third quarter at the earliest, realistically fourth quarter.
But this year.
That's a long answer for you, but
no, and it's on point. Could make it in time for our fly-in November, so we'll see.
Yes.
That would be cool. Wow. So, more generically, especially being here, how does the avionics community fare for the near future?
Overall, I think there's a lot of positives. A couple of negatives. Unfortunately, coming out of COVID in the last administration, we had a pretty significant retirement evolution, and we ended up losing a lot of very valuable talent.
Indeed.
That talent hasn't completely been rebuilt yet. And so, they haven't fully hired the replacements for everything that was there. And what we're seeing right now is that because of the angst, if you will, of all of the activity in Washington, and you can blame Doge if you want, or you blame anything else, but it's basically the accountability, the reduction force, if you're not doing your job, don't do it.
Yeah.
You have to come back to the office. All of those things together create a lot of anxiety. That anxiety is pushing two general categories of talent to consider leaving the agency.
Mm-hmm.
One is those remote workers who have a viable reason to be remote.
Yeah.
Whether it be medical or whatever, and those people are having to deal with the bureaucracy, and they're just fed up with it, and they go, "I'm out of here."
Yeah.
So we lose a talent pool because of that. The other side of it is that because we've been living with this remote work as a result of COVID, we have a lot of people who have gotten very comfortable working from home. They have a routine built around working from home. They don't have to take their children to daycare, all these other things that go with it. They're available to do soccer practice because they don't have an hour and a half commute, to get in and out of DC. And so what we're seeing is that there's a certain, the anxiety is driving retirements that may not have been there before. To people put in retirement. And so again, we have a bit of a brain drain, a talent drain in this process. We haven't completely recovered from the last one, and now we have another one on top of it. It's a long way to say that as we are doing certifications, we don't have the talent pool within the agency to be able to efficiently and effectively do certifications on design of products and the design of installations.
Well, Rick, that's a hell of a note to close on, but it'll do for now. I will definitely be reaching out to you as time goes on, maybe with a couple of sources of our own that may help you. Reaching out to Elon every chance I get, and we'll see what happens. But make a long story short, that's kind of way below his pay grade.
Yeah.
But at any rate, we sure appreciate the time to talk to you. You've got more experience in this realm than any 10 people I know, any 100 people I know. It's always been entertaining, if not a little frustrating, to talk to you.
Yeah.
We thank you for everything. We look forward to seeing you in the future, and I guess we'll catch you. You coming to Sun and Fun?
I am not.
Oshkosh?
I am.
We'll see you at Oshkosh.
Sounds good.
Rick, it's always such a pleasure to talk to you. And folks, we're going to take a quick break. We got some interesting toys coming up here. Guardian Avionics and Ash Fidge will be out here very shortly with, aviation toys. Yay! So we're going to look forward to that here in just a moment. We're going to take a quick commercial break. This is the 68th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show live from the Phoenix Convention Center. Brought to you by some really cool people from A&N who shall remain nameless for the moment because the warrants are still out. We'll talk to you all in a few moments. We'll be right back. Alrighty, folks, we are back at the 68th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show from the Phoenix Convention Center in Phoenix, Arizona. We've had an interesting day so far, talking to some phenomenally gifted folks from throughout the industry, the folks that are pushing aviation forward. But now I get to talk to the guy with some of the best toys on the floor. Pretty much it. Ash Fidge, President, Guardian Avionics. Ash, what's new at Guardian?
Well, you know, we've been keep going. This is, believe it or not, this is our 25th year.
Oh, there you go.
So we've been making products. You know, start off with our basic CO detectors with the clock, the CO detectors, and then we came out with the iPad mounts that that were pretty famous. And now the new products we have is actually using your iPhones, because everybody has an iPhone, and everybody wants to put it somewhere, and then this way. And this is also all built into the cockpit, so you can either have it flush mounted or with the bezel. And it's just simple as, oh, let me just change that up. But what I was going to say was, so they just go back start using it as a phone. The dock in, and it's charging. You can see that it doesn't come out, and we also have a locking feature on this if you want to go through like a lot of vibration. And so the simplest thing is just, and then when you want to go home, you take your iPhone and you have a temporary display in your cockpit, and then you can use your phone for, typically like everybody uses their phone for everything. In like the Smart MFD app we have, but you can use any of your apps, your typical phone. And the best part is, it's very simple. It stays in your cockpit. It charges behind. It's got the standard what do they call it, safe charging system. And so that's our newest product.
Okay, let's talk about installation. What's the FAA want regulatorily to have this stuff in here? How can you operate it? What are your limitations?
So both of these products are what we call NORC certified. So they could be installed in any Part 23 aircraft under 6,000 pounds, and all they do need is a logbook entry.
Okay.
So it's all FAA certified. All these have been burn tested, so that they pass the burn test, and that's really pretty basically it is. And then our chargers are also FAA certified, so are CO detectors. So their installation in a Part 23 aircraft is very simple and very quick.
Interesting. All right. Well, you have a number of software utilities that certainly accent the flight environment. Talk about some of the support that you're giving to the pilot through this kind of product.
Well, the biggest challenge is that, people spend a lot of money. Like, say, you could spend easily $15,000 on a Garmin G3X on one side. The other side of the cockpit, you can spend another 15, or you got a nice blank spot, right? You can put a nice little iPad mini with the power supply and everything, with the cooling fan. It's less than $500.
Whoa.
And it's FAA certified.
That's less than an airplane megabuck.
That's it. And the best thing is, then you could take your iPad mini home with you, or if you have your phone, you just could put your phone, take the phone out. It comes back with it. It comes with the power supply. So everything's all it needs is power and ground.
Boy, that does make it simple.
Yeah, it is very simple. It is very simple and very affordable for the average person to buy it.
Okay. What's been the reception so far? What kind of questions are you getting? What are people telling you or asking of you for these installations?
Well, we've been selling these things now, the iPad mini mounts now for the last 5-6 years. So we've been...
A couple of days.
Yeah. Maybe more than that, yeah. And people just love them. So they're really, anytime they go in for a panel modification of their airplane, that's when they put our system in. And it's very nice when they're designing the airplane. The guy's spending a lot of money, they could put like a G500, then you could put our unit on the right-hand side instead of buying another G500. So it's really more of, hey, you got a nice display, you can do, play music, play what do you call it? Anything that you want to do for flight. So that's really the advantage of having, you know, and the same thing. The reason we did the iPhone is we have so many customers that kept asking. We were doing iPhones before, and the iPhones were, you know, on the side charging and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And they were saying, oh, it's too complicated than this. But now with the wireless charge,
that solved everything, didn't it?
It's a snap in and you're done.
Outstanding. That looks pretty slick.
Yeah.
I got a few places I know where that'll go.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. We sell a lot to the boats and, you know, there are different applications also.
Outstanding. Very, very cool. All
Yeah,
right. Tell me what's happening with your CO monitoring systems.
Well, you know, our CO detectors are very common. I didn't bring the other product that we have also, is that we also have a unit that takes your heart rate and oxygen from your watch and displays it on the iPad or on the Garmin G3X. It displays your heart rate and oxygen. As you're flying, you're getting constant heart rate and oxygen. And the advantage of our system is, A, there's no connection or anything. As long as you launch our app, everything starts working in the background automatically. So there's no Bluetooth connect. So we connect automatically to our system, and we automatically connect to the G3X, so the pilot doesn't have to do no steps. And then also it monitors the CO with carbon monoxide in the cabin.
Well, that's a big topic. There's been a number of problems over the years where people have identified issues where that's arisen and created problems for pilots and sometimes fatal problems for pilots.
Yep.
And it's still something that I don't think the industry pays nearly enough attention to. Mind you, you've recently gotten copied in this realm, but the thing I like about your system is it's platform agnostic. You can put that anywhere with anything. It doesn't matter if you're Aspen, Garmin, Avidyne, old Bendix King, you know, boat anchor, whatever, you know, the whole bit. It's all there.
Yeah. So the advantage of our system is that we have it as you can do a simple thing like putting an EDA light, a tone in the headset, a tone on the outside, or an RS-232 to display on the board, on the panels. So ours is really a multi-purpose design so that the customer can use it to anywhere that he feels that he really needs.
Excellent. What's next on your development program? What are you looking to tackle next?
We keep, as far as I say, keep innovating, try to keep, you know, the most of our thing is that we're trying to go is after, hey, what does a pilot need that the market is not currently satisfying, and can it keep it in a reasonable price and everything. And so that's kind of been our, you know, we're coming out with a little different power supply. So
I noticed the USB interface.
Yeah.
Everybody wants those.
Everybody wants those, and then also now the advantage of ours, we're also getting all TSO certified to make it installations much easier instead of just a NORSI.
Okay, very good. What's your development process on something like this? I mean, where does it start? What do you have to do? What's it take?
Well, usually it's just a concept, and then you start doing a mechanical layout. Say, okay, this is how I want it. This is how the board. Then we go to the board design. My electrical engineer say, hey, can you design me a circuit that can do A, B, and C? Then try to put that together. Then start doing some testing, and then once the testing is done, then try to go after certification. And then certification, then try to go to the market and see if the market will accept it.
Yeah.
So it's just a long process.
The
it's still a year and a half project for any item that you decide to bring on.
Ouch. That takes some time, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it's the love of aviation. But they say I'm not smart enough to do anything else.
Yeah, well, you know, my line is, you know, my mom always said I'd never find honest work, and nobody's going to call my mom a liar. So this is what I do instead.
Yeah, this is what I do too.
I hear you.
Yeah.
What's what are some of the stories? What are people telling you about how they're utilizing it?
Well, like I said, I mean, we could give you so many testimonials. People just love the iPad mounts. They love our CO detector. We have saved so many lives. I don't know if you know, I was the first guy to develop this thing because I had CO poisoning when I was learning to fly. there was nobody in the market designing any kind of electronic system. You know, everybody had the little plug, and it may have been there a year, 5 years, and nobody knows, you know, nobody looks at that thing. So once we decided, then we got the FAA to certify it. We're the first company to ever get TSO certification on these. And then the OEM started installing them, and now every OEM installs and every OEM installs them in the airplane.
Excellent.
So, yeah, so
I'm happy to see it because, you know, the sad part is in my job, every morning I have to go through the accident reports. And there's a number of them where you just don't know what happened or whatever the case may be, and everybody knows that CO is an issue, especially in older aircraft that may not have been maintained properly or recently. And CEO is a killer. It's also just one of those things that nobody thinks about, nobody considers. And as you know, we've had this conversation that safety is the most difficult thing to sell in aviation.
It is, because it always happened to the other guy, it won't happen to me.
And your saving grace is that your gear is really affordable.
Yeah.
Performing a function that has a high degree of criticality. You know, criticality 1, if you remember the phrase from the NASA days, the stuff that could take you down.
Yeah.
CO can take you down.
Yeah.
And it ain't pleasant.
Yes, and I agree with that, like I said. And if I can tell the customers that the biggest problem in an aeroplane, I know people talk about the exhaust system, but it is the door seals in the cabin of your doors. If you can just, whenever you do your annuals, if you could just look at your door seals, because what happens is as you're landing or you're doing slow flight,
it's all coming right
produce a
back
vacuum inside the cabin, and all that exhaust that's running on the side of the airplane comes right in. And you'll see if you have a CO detector, it'll go off like crazy. So the best thing I would tell the customers is when you're doing your annuals, to look at, make sure the door seals don't, put a light through it so you can't see any light from your door seals.
Tough stuff.
Yeah.
Very tough stuff. How can people get more information on your programming and your products?
Well, they go to guardianavionics.com and our website, and we have a lot of the questions, you know, all the different products that we sell. And they can also reach me out at ash@guardianavionics.com, and I can respond to them. So they could do it both ways, you know. Give us
and
a
if
call.
you're in Phoenix, come on over to the AEA convention.
Yeah, come over. And if you're in Arizona, come over to Tucson and see our facility.
There you go. Well, Ash, it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're doing cool stuff, man.
Thank you.
I mean, I realize I'm being a little flippant and calling them toys, but 1, cool. 2, useful. 3, looks good. Toys.
Yep.
There we go.
And they're affordable. And
yeah. Well, that, you know, and this is the one reason why you've been able to really, not one reason, pardon me.
Yeah.
This is a primary reason why you've been able to achieve such market penetration, is because you didn't overprice it.
No.
You kept it reasonable, and as hard as aviation is to sell, anything that costs more is even more difficult to sell. You made it reasonable, and somewhere down the line, nobody can actually tell you for sure, but you know you save lives.
Yeah, oh no, we have. I can tell you from Cessna, won't fly airplane out of test fly if the carbon monoxide detector is going off. Yeah, because they have had incidents, you know, so
well,
it is.
God's work, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
All righty, folks, we are going to take a break. This is the 68th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. Mm-hmm. We're having a ball. We have Dave Salvador from GoGo on deck, Gary Reeves, Mr. GPS, pilotsafety.org. And that's going to close out today. We've got a few things to say as we close out, and then we will be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock through about 2 o'clock PDT for you folks on the East Coast. Remember that. But we will be back here in just a few moments with Dave Salvador, and boy, I can't believe we're getting to the end of 3 hours. It's been a long day, but it sure has been fascinating. We've had such great interviews. So we will be back in just a moment. We are live from AEA 2025. Be right back.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 68th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Phoenix, Arizona, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Looking for a new generation of proven and efficient aviation power plants that boast modern engineering, electronic ignition, and both direct and gear drive systems? With 100 horsepower to 240 horsepower, the Skyline and Redline engines offer uncommon value in an overpriced industry. Whether you are looking for fixed wing or rotor, MW Fly Americas has been established to service the American market with dedication and expertise. MWFlyAmericas.com.
Flying is my entire life. It's all that I've ever known. I've relied on Hartzell propellers since about 1995. Hartzell means much more than a propeller. It's a relationship. When you hear the phrase built on honor, they care about us as pilots, they care about our community, and they care about the product they build. It's such a proud honor to fly behind that propeller.
And we are back. We warned you, we were coming back, we weren't going anywhere. This is the 68th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show live from the Phoenix Convention Center. Been a heck of a week so far. If you joined us yesterday for the NPIs, otherwise known as the new product introductions, you saw a lot of cool stuff. We're talking aviation innovation part one. It was just really amazing to watch what 2025 is bringing to this industry again. We have the good fortune to bring Dave Salvador with us from GoGo. I keep joking in the past about GoGo's attempt at world domination. I don't think it's an attempt anymore. I think it kind of done it. Dave, what's happening with GoGo? Just tell me when we all basically have to bow down and go, yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't know about domination. I think it's a continued focus on investment. Our company has been focused on business aviation since the beginning. We decided to play around in the airlines a little bit and decided that wasn't the best long-term solution for our company, so that ended up be selling that.
That's an interesting business.
Yeah, so we have had a lot of success with equipping aircraft, everything from a single-engine turboprop all the way up to the VVIP category with our products and services. And as we look to continue to be competitive in the marketplace, we decided to make an investment. And that investment was bringing the two leading connectivity powerhouses together, being GoGo and Satcom Direct, and that was officially consummated in December of last year.
How's that going?
It's going well. I mean, bringing two companies of the same magnitude together has a bit of challenge.
No fist fights in the hall or anything?
No, nothing like that. Just, I guess, trying to get comfortable with processes and how things are run. And that has been, it's only 90 days old, really, if you think about it. It's not very long that's been going on, but we have already had some successes with bringing our product portfolios together. Made an announcement here at the event yesterday that we're going to have an integration with our new low Earth orbit or LEO satellite connectivity solution with the Satcom Direct router, which is a very prolific product in the market. They're installed between the SDR, the Satcom Direct router, and the Satcom Direct router gateway. There's over 4,000 aircraft in service that have those smart routers.
That's an Air Force.
And that, with the integration with Galileo, now increases the target opportunity to add the satellite bearer to that existing aircraft infrastructure.
So you're going to have all the bases covered.
Yeah, between Advance, which we now are over 4,600 aircraft that are flying, with the Advance L3 or L5, add the Satcom Direct routers. Now you have a target audience that doesn't have to go in and disturb the Wi-Fi environment in the airplane. We just add the antenna once the SDC is available and wire it into the existing infrastructure.
What's the customer base telling you?
They're anxious. I mean, high-speed connectivity and bandwidth in the airplane is something that everybody wants more of. Our phones, our computers,
It's the ultimate addiction.
Yeah, I mean, every app that comes out requires more data. So people want to have that same level of connectivity in the aircraft that they have in their office or in their home. And the way to do that is you have to invest. You have to upgrade the technology in your airplane.
But the versatility it brings to the airplane is incredible.
Correct. And if your airplane is globally missioned, you also may not want to have only one bearer in the aircraft. You may want to have an investment that is multi-bearer, and that may include a low Earth orbit satellite system, an air-to-ground system, or a GEO system, which now by the acquisition of Satcom Direct, we bring those, all those technologies together and increase our portfolio.
Certainly not a one-trick pony.
No, not at all.
Outstanding. Yeah, I've told you the story from years past when I was traveling quite a bit on a CJ3 with the late Tracy Forrest, and man, he'd bring me along because the minute he was off the ground and popped everything into the panel and had everything settled down, is your airplane, and he's got GoGo going, he's got his laptop out, and he's just working it.
Yeah.
He's got everything we need to do done from his business standpoints to where we're going to have lunch in Texas.
Well,
it was incredible. I mean, he played that thing like a violin. It was great.
Connectivity is synonymous with people why they own aircraft or fly business jets.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So how's the future look? Where are your next steps? What can the customer base expect, and what other customer bases are you targeting?
So by combining the portfolios, of course, we now have a global reach that we did not have necessarily before. The SATCOM Direct team, the global team, is extensive. Offices all over the globe, and from a standpoint of that focus of customer support that you're going to need by having connectivity wherever you fly your aircraft, we're in really good position now to have that. And then, of course, continued investments in our products and services and the integration of our two portfolios. Not only does the new Gogo have hardware and services available, we also have tools available. SATCOM Direct has an enormous war chest of tools for the directors of maintenance, for the crew on board, as well as people planning flights. So there's a lot more to come from the combined portfolio.
Outstanding. We're glad to see progress being made. We're glad to see that it has been a kinder process than some of the other interesting partnerships and mergers that have occurred, or acquisitions in many cases. So that works out well. But I got to ask the X question. How does this all work in a world where Starlink is sticking its nose?
Well, it's certainly putting us in a position to be more competitive, right? I mean, if
well,
there
that
is,
doesn't hurt. You guys are competitive sons
and
of
we
guns.
are, and
Yeah,
we
I mean,
are,
seriously.
and I that focus word again is our vertical market focus is aviation, right? I mean, that's all we do.
Yeah.
You strengthen your teams by putting a global infrastructure of support. The expectations of our clientele isn't something is not working correctly, that people are on site within 24 to 48 hours. And that's where you start differentiating yourself. If the experience is on par with whoever you're competing against, what you stand out in is how you service that customer and the longevity you have in the business.
And that's the one complaint we're hearing right, left, and forward about Starlink, is trying to get a hold of customer support.
Yeah.
Everything from the teeny little end user and nowhere Idaho to the guy operating a business aircraft and got a brand new installation and he's got questions and he can't get a call returned.
Yeah, well, that's again where we're looking to differentiate ourselves. And the other aspect of differentiation too is who you're partnering with on the technology. And we've been blessed on the LEO side, the low Earth orbit system that we've developed in partnership with Hughes, the antenna manufacturer, and the Eutelsat OneWeb network. That network, that low Earth orbit network, is built for mobility. It's a symmetrical network with the way they place their satellites. Aircraft are in motion, so they need connectivity that's consistent wherever they fly. And when you compare to the other LEO solution that's available, in order to have increased in bandwidth, you have to actually coagulate satellites, is the best way I can say it. And if you were to actually go on the internet and look at both networks live, you'll see one, a very symmetrical network that's in service, and the other one is not very symmetrical because that one was not designed for mobility.
Interesting. When somebody comes to you, say they're a mid-level bizjet operator, they don't have a solution, they're not educated, what is it that you tell them? How do you teach them? What knowledge do they need to have to be able to make an educated decision?
On what to put for connectivity on their aircraft?
Yep.
Yeah, it really comes down to where do you fly and what's the mission of your aircraft. So if you're predominantly someone that operates in North America, it may be a best solution to put in an air-ground system. We have our existing license network that we're upgrading to the latest cellular technologies of LTE. That's in work right now. Our 5G network and products will be coming out this year. So that may be the solution for them to meet their needs. If they sometimes travel outside North America, they want to go down to the islands, go to Mexico, then maybe a single LEO solution might be the right one. Or if you're globally missioned and connectivity is paramount no matter where you fly in the world, then it may be a combination of LEO, GEO, and whatever else that our company has to offer. And the other thing that we're doing too is you mentioned the one-trick pony aspect of it. We're investing in technology that will be long-standing and that you can change networks on in the future. So as an example, if there's another LEO satellite network that comes out, we may consider offering an option for that service on the infrastructure that we've built in the aircraft.
Yeah, they're proposing new ones every other week, it seems.
They are, and we're watching all that and evaluating that.
Going to get crowded up there.
Yeah.
Everybody on the ISS better be ready to duck. we have looked at this industry and its health and welfare, so to speak, for a number of years. You've been a major player in the AEA community. How would you gauge the health of the avionics community from your standpoint as a major manufacturer?
I've had the honor to serve on the board of directors for the AEA for 3 terms. My last year was last year, so this is the first year I came to the event in almost a decade that I've not had a requirement to attend a board meeting. But one of the things that we looked at, one of the things that we looked at in a better part of the last 4 or 5 years is our workforce, right? And our aging out technicians, trying to bring fresh technicians into our industry, having people have awareness of business aviation, looking at opportunities for transitioning military members to come in. So as we look at our industry, I think that's one of the things we have to be very cognizant about is fresh talent and how to continue to get the people that are the hands-on servicing the aircraft and have people understand there's tremendous opportunity in this industry. So that's workforce is a big thing for me.
I was very impressed with AEA's announcement of the CAET.
Yep.
Obviously, they've been thinking and talking about it for since God wore sneakers. But I really like the fact that AEA, who has distinguished itself as one of the best associations we've seen in aviation, and I've been working with this stuff for over 50 years. Very impressive all the way through, and that's great. But the way that they are attacking the issue on their own and utilizing the auspices that they are is just bloody smart.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
Because let's face it, everybody here is talking about how hard it is to hire.
Yeah. And there is a technician shortage. I mean, there's no doubt. You could pull any avionics shop, any MRO, any OEM, and every one of them would tell you they have open recs for avionics techs. That's why it's such an opportunity for people that don't know about our industry, and they want it, and they're good in the technical field, and they want to, launch a career in avionics.
Oh, it's fun because we get the call a couple times a month about, hey, I want to be in aviation, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and flight training's expensive, and I'm not sure that's the way I want to make a living, but I love airplanes and this and that. And I go, oh man, call Mike Adamson. Seriously,
well,
we got a deal for you.
Website together too. The is it Aerojobs.net? I can't think of the name. But that is a great website for opportunities too.
Well, we're happy to see that that effort being made. I'm curious to learn more about it as it goes forward, and may even sit in on a couple of sessions here and there and get educated myself, because let's face it can only help.
Right.
We shall see. Where can people get more information on GoGo? How can they get better educated? They're looking to either institute a solution or upgrade what they have.
So we obviously offer our direct customer sales team from a standpoint of supporting the dealers that we have as authorized dealers. They know who their channel managers are, and there's always our website, which is gogoair.com.
Okay. Well, as always, we've sure enjoyed talking to you. We've had such a ball working with you over the years, and it's fun watching the progress. When you see good people doing good things and being creative and innovative about it and watching the industry go forward, that's when I sit back and go, yeah, cool. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. We thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim.
As always. Alrighty, folks, go take a quick break. We've got Gary GPS Reeves on deck, and that will be it for the day. We've got a full schedule starting tomorrow at 11 o'clock. It's going to be a really good day. We've got, holy smokes, if we got a roster there, it's going to be fun. We've got SICE, PS Engineering, Kelly Manufacturing, TriStar, cool people, Astronics, Collins, a little company you may have heard of, Aeromech, and of course, Mike Adamson, president of AEA, to tell us how cool everything is and how cool it's going to be, and we're going to believe him. So we will be back after a quick break. This is the 68th Annual AEA Convention and Trade Show. We're live from the Phoenix Convention Center. And thanks, Dave Salvador, as always.
Thanks.
Alrighty, folks, be right back. Alrighty, folks, we're back for the last interview of the day. We are pleased to present Gary Reeves, who we have talked to once or twice in the past, harassed a little bit. He's one of those instructor guys who basically tells you what you ought to know, tells you where to go, and you better listen. Is that about right?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay.
It makes me sound much smarter than I am.
Well, you're a pilot. We can only do so much. Gary is doing some extraordinary work and specialization in a number of instruction disciplines, and God bless him for that, because quite frankly, some of the areas he's touching on are some of the things I keep reading about in accident reports each day. So we need the effort. However, I have just been informed, and it's a little dastardly, and we're not quite sure what to deal with on this, but Gary's going over to the dark side. He's playing with helicopters. Now, mind you, I'm a commercial helicopter pilot and CFI helicopter and all that stuff, but it's still the dark side for those of us who grew up with fixed wing. Gary, how dare you?
Well, the good news is I know nothing about flying helicopters. The only thing I know is that you hate it when I call them rudder pedals. And apparently, there's something called a Jesus nut that sounds really important.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I don't,
especially with any altitude, yes.
I don't know how to fly a helicopter. I don't know anything about helicopter systems. But for my specialty, I kind of think that's a strength, because I'm not limited to what I know will work or won't work.
Gotcha.
So, Jim, so generous with your time. GPS, the guy in the pink shirt's a nickname, but I'm kind of well known for being the expert. And I'm not smart, but I have more experience teaching autopilots, GPS, and traffic terrain systems than any other instructor on the planet, because it's been my full-time job for 21 years. I'm well known in the fixed wing world.
At least you have a real job versus us journalists who just fake it.
Well, yeah, but your job looks much harder than mine. I just get paid to teach
Boy,
people.
if I got you fooled, buddy.
Yeah. So pilots all around the world, and mostly the US, that add Garmin avionics or any of the big brands will buy my paid mastery level videos, or they hire me to do private 3-day trainings. But I found out something really interesting about helicopters, and you can help me. I've been hired by some very large fleets, the US Coast Guard.
I've heard of them.
Yes.
Yes.
The largest Part 135 helicopter tour operator in the country, Temsco Helicopters. I'm working with Houston PD. IFR,
those guys see some action.
Right? So IFR being in the clouds for fixed wing pilots is scary if you're not trained, but airplanes are essentially stable and you do it. What I found out about helicopters is you could be a 20,000 hour very high time helicopter pilot and never go into the clouds, at least on purpose. They don't even get their instrument rating a lot. So there's
let's face it, helicopter IFR was black magic until not too many years ago.
Oh yeah. So the challenge I've seen is helicopter companies are seeing the benefits of adding Garmin Autopilot's GPS. Genesis S-Tech, the Moog HeliSAS autopilot. So they're seeing the benefits, but the NTSB came out with something really interesting. An aircraft that has GPS, traffic and terrain systems in an autopilot has fewer accidents than aircraft without them, but they have twice the fatality rate.
Okay.
So if you invest in adding GPS and autopilots, you'll have fewer accidents, but you're twice as likely to die. And they've started putting it in reports, and they're actually saying it now. This person, very high-time professional pilot, was killed, and we can find no proof of formal avionics training.
Bingo.
Especially in the helicopter world where accidental IMC is so deadly.
And the way we scud run day in, day out, it's a matter of time. The only thing that saves you is if it's an inadvertent quick encounter and on the other side it's clear.
Right.
And if it doesn't, you got problems, son.
And I think you can help me, and you can certainly explain to all the viewers. It's kind of a culture shift, because even if the companies, the big rescue companies or whatever, buy GPS and autopilots, the average helicopter pilot doesn't typically use them.
Yeah.
So when things go bad, they don't know how to use them correctly and quickly. That could save a lot of lives.
Yeah.
So that's So that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to give all the benefits of avionics with training to the rotorcraft people, because it could save a lot of lives.
Some areas. The problem with the rotorcraft industry is that we were this very entrenched VFR, low level, scud running, don't get high enough to have a nosebleed kind of mentality, that we could fly in almost anything as long as we kind of kept an eye on the ground. And we know how that turned out sometimes.
Sure.
But the fact that we developed avionics and stability control systems and autopilot systems that allowed us to deal with serious IFR has been a shock. And, you know, we jump into this stuff, it's equipped, and I know how to use this and I know how to use that, but I have no practical experience.
Well, and it's not like a fixed wing guy, if they're going to hire me for training, it's because they fly IFR on a regular basis. Even if you get an instrument rating in a helicopter, you're probably not doing actual IFR approaches on a regular basis. So having all the technology, you never kind of get the advanced mastery training, which is true in fixed wing, but you're just not used to using it. And there's so many great things that could save lives, they just don't even know it's possible. So I was lucky enough to get to be asked to teach an emergency class at Verticon last week.
That had to be fun.
How to use your autopilot and GPS to survive inadvertent IMC and low altitude IFR emergencies. And I've got some great in-flight footage of in a Bell 507 with the Moog HeliSAS and a Garmin GTN and a Garmin display of doing a very quick, all at the same time, course reversal, VNAV descent, and back out. Which helicopter pilots were like, no, you don't do a bunch of things at once. But if you knew how to use the avionics.
Yeah.
I've got some in-flight footage with Houston PD and an MD500 of teaching them how to create a layer on ForeFlight that in IFR, if you also needed to land quickly, it would automatically pop up green dots where all the safe open fields are. I've got stuff from Temsco helicopters in Alaska using an Avidyne 550 and something called OBS to get out of accidental IMC in a mountain canyon and create a safe landing path. So the tools are there, but they're just not commonly used. And my challenge is, I could save a lot of lives. The avionics dealers and manufacturers can save a lot of lives. How do we get helicopter people to ask for something they don't know they need?
Well, we got to get the word out, obviously. But I'll tell you what, next time you do one of these things, I'd really like to sit in on something like this, because
I would love to.
That, you know, I got a fair amount of time in virtually, you know, all kinds of stuff up and down the line, Blackhawks on down, and that's great. But to be perfectly honest, never enough time in the IFR environment to be really confident about it, because most of the time's long past and stuff I was playing with, and most of my flight work was in flight tests, and that wasn't IFR, that was, you know, how not to kill the helicopter.
Right.
But love to see what you're doing with it, but it also sounds like something that really needs to be put in front of the community, because I don't want to tell you how many times I, again, start the morning, every morning looking at accident reports, and how many of them are rotor. And some of them are just really stupid.
I mean, a classic example, a guy bought a very expensive helicopter from the factory, went through 5 days of factory training. How much of 5 days of factory or factory training equivalent is focused on the specific limitations, functions, and how the autopilot integrates with all the other avionics? I know they talk about that.
Yeah.
So 3 months after he bought it, he got into low clouds, trying to get home at night. The weather was worse than forecast. Typical thing. Tried to engage the autopilot 28 seconds before he died. It would never engage because the primary mode wasn't armed. So he pushed altitude hold and got a flight director, but he didn't do anything. 18 seconds before he died, he realized he needed to arm the primary SAS system and did that, but then didn't know you had to rearm the altitude. So the autopilot could have saved him, but there's nobody out there providing that depth of training.
It doesn't matter, rotor or fixed wing, people do not realize and this goes all the way back to the back to and long before the John Kennedy accident. Hit autopilot and he'd have been fine. Just that moment of disorientation or not knowing what's going on or where the hell am I or whatever the case may be. And I knew John, and he was a lovely guy, but and Hilo, same thing. We've got this capability. It's great. We paid big bucks for it. Have we been properly trained?
And that's the thing. Garmin makes amazing GPS and displays. Avidyne makes a wonderful FMS.
Ooh, love that.
Moog Genesis has a great helicopter autopilot.
Yeah.
But if you're buying the tools and not investing the 20 hours to learn them, they can't.
It's ridiculous.
They can't help you.
No.
When you need them, and it's not that they're bad people. They just don't know what to ask. So, because I'm doing so much rotor work now, on my website, this is the total pitch, pilotsafety.org/rotor, ROTOR. I'm actually have a bunch of avionics examples of how I work with fleets, but I'm going to have that class I taught at Verticon, an hour and a half recorded with much better sound quality, up on that website for free.
Send me that link. I want to see that one.
And anybody can watch it for free. Because I'm like you. I want to save lives, and the best way to do it is to tell people the fixes. So I've always been very grateful for what you do, especially giving me some time, but it's sharing the news is what makes the difference.
Well, you've done a smart thing for a flight instructor. You took something that you're passionate about, you learned it better than anybody else, and you're teaching it the best way you know how. And there are flight instructors from the community, and Rich Stoll on Unusual Attitudes. Best in the business, no question about it.
Great friend of mine, amazing.
It's a guy I actually sent Vicky to for aerobatic training back in the day, and she went on to become a almost world champion and everything
better
else.
Than that.
She was amazing, and he is extraordinary. There are other people out there with specialties. There's a guy who does nothing but stall work and backward, and actually quite a few. And that's great. And this is the thing that we need to index and let people know that these are the skills they need to learn and go for it. And we have a project we're talking about in the future, developing an aviation merit badge system to take the very basic skill sets that we immediately forget up after the check ride, or are likely to get us into trouble, or that we don't understand. I mean, for gosh sakes, when I go out on a test flight with a quote-unquote chief pilot for an LSA manufacturer, and the winds are honking across the runway, and I slipped a landing, and he's looking at me like I'm from Mars. What was that? It's called a slip. He didn't know what it was. These are the things we need to be teaching, and find the best people in those areas, teach them individually, like you're doing. And pardon me, sermon over, but I had to say it. And Zach is smiling behind the camera here because he's hearing me. Yeah, I'm preaching again is what's going on here, and we'll give that a rest. Gary, tell everybody how they can get more information on you. This is your chance. If
you Google Gary GPS guy in the pink shirt, you're going to find a lot of stuff on the internet that says I'm really smart.
Some of it's clean.
Don't believe any of it. But if you want to look at my free getting started videos on Garmin, Avidyne, autopilot stuff,
great stuff,
or any of the avionics training I do, just pilotsafety.org, or just look for him. I'm at the same convention. He's the good-looking one. I'm the guy in bright pink.
This is true. You can trust him. All righty, folks. Tell you what, let's talk, before we close, let's talk about the next couple of weeks, because among the many great good fortunes that have come our way for Aero-News is the fact that we are the media partner for the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo, which is barely days away in Lakeland, Florida, starting April 1st through 6th. And I got to tell you, we have plans for you. It's going to be just freaking extraordinary. And I cleaned that up. It's okay, Mom. Seriously. We start out on March 31st, the day before, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time with the Sun and Fun Innovation Preview. It is aviation's greatest press conference. Somewhere between 20 and 25 people have 4 minutes at a time to tell you what's the most innovative thing that they can come up with, that they're bringing to the industry. And I've already seen what they're bringing. Folks, there are no less than 8 game changers. There's 2 bomb throwers. I'm telling you, we've got great, amazing news to impart. It is live, airborne-AIRBORNE-LIVE.net. Don't miss it. It is, and I'm bragging here, aviation's greatest press conference. You're going to like it. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. We're inviting all the journalists. We're even giving them food and drinks, so we know they're going to show up. Next morning, starting bright and early, at 0900, and throughout the week, 0900 is the morning brief. It's about 30 minutes of what's coming up during the day, what we expect in weather, air shows, cool things, a couple places to go see, and a couple of short interviews. I will start the week, but the rest of the week will be handled by Emma Crawford, who's joining us. Emma has been doing Flying Doodles on YouTube. She's a Waco tour pilot now, got a ton of tail dragger time, good stick, nice kid, and one of us. She got married the week before Oshkosh and honeymooned at Oshkosh, so you know she's one of us. Throughout every day, Sun and Fun Digital Daily, snfdd.com, Sierra November Foxtrot, delta.com. News, stories, links to video. It's where we put all the really cool news from Sun and Fun. Every afternoon, our own Holland Lee, God bless her, will be doing Airborne. And it will be the Sun and Fun edition of Airborne. Very cool stuff, lots of exciting things, features from throughout the day. Don't miss it. And then finally, last big day of the week, Saturday, although show ends Sunday, Saturday Flight Live. We're doing the day air show, the night air show live, some stuff in between. We are going to be beating our poor videographers to death. It's going to be a good time. Again, live, airborne-live.net. I wouldn't miss it if I were you. Don't forget Airborne TV for our Airborne episodes, AIRBORNE-TV.net. And of course, Aero-News will be carrying a lot of stuff as well, but it's snfdd.com where you can get a look at everything. We will have our videographers shooting features throughout the week. We're aiming at 100, and those will be produced in the weeks that follow because we can't edit everything overnight. As much as we abuse Nathan Holland and the gang, we try, but there's just so much you can do. And I guarantee you, it is jam-packed. So, April 1st through 6th, March 31st for the Innovation Preview, don't miss it. And for the Aero-News Network crew, the extraordinary people who bring this, make it look so easy, make me look good, which is an act, I'm telling you. All the folks that we have here, Nathan Cremasino, who produces everything, Holland Lee, who's everywhere doing everything all the time, Caitlin Wilson, who's out playing communication and wrangling all our people together, Zach Hewitt, who's now behind the camera and making silly faces at me. Yeah, well, that one's a good one, Zach. And of course, my long-suffering wife, Misako, who organizes this, makes it happen, and really makes me look good because everybody likes talking to her, and I don't really understand why. But hey, you know, she's cute, that works. Alrighty, folks, I'm going to hand it over to Nathan to do our closing credits, our crass commercials. Please buy stuff so they will sponsor us. And more than anything else, we thank you. We will see you tomorrow morning at 1100 Pacific Daylight Time. We're starting with Aviation Design and Supply, PS Engineering, SICE, Kelly Manufacturing, TriStar Technologies, Astronics, Collins Aerospace, Aeromech, and of course Mike Adamson from this little association called AEA. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for putting up with me. And 1100, be there, or I'm going to sick Misako on you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 68th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Phoenix, Arizona, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
The future of USB charging power has arrived. Introducing new ultra-fast charging TA360 USB chargers. Unlock the power of USB Power Delivery PD technology. Max power. Multiple configurations. In-seat cabin, cockpit, and galley USB power, and a direct upgrade for all TrueBlue Power USB chargers, compatible with any USB electronic device. Easy to install, backed by the best. TrueBlue Power, the USB experts.
Are you ready to ace your FAA drone pilot knowledge test, get your remote pilot certificate, and start earning money? Well, flying a drone is a great tool that can open up new business opportunities for anyone. Realtor, insurance adjuster, videographer, or commercial weekend drone warrior, you need to fly legally. Whether you're pursuing your initial Part 107 remote pilot certificate or you need a renewal, King Schools has a course just for you. So start learning today at kingschools.com.
The legendary BD4C program is building an exciting future for those who want a rugged four-seat family flyer with a proven history. The SureWings program produces a complete kit and builder assist program that gives you everything you need to be flying a BD4CS in record time. For conventional kit builders, BD Aviation has parts, partial kits, and full kits for the 190-mile-per-hour BD4C that has logged thousands of hours. Visit SureWings.com and BDAviation.com for more details.
Meet the first of a new generation of the M-Class family. The M700 Fury. An aircraft worthy of the name, an indomitable force. The M700 Fury transcends traditional limits with more power, blistering performance, a finely appointed interior, and the luxury of what matters most. Time. Experience the Fury. Join the legacy.
Direct Fly USA proudly introduces the new Alto NG, a single-engine, two-seat light sport aircraft for the North American market. This simple, all-metal aircraft design provides low maintenance cost, easy, comfortable access, and responsive flight controls. Equipped with the Rotax 912 engine and a ballistic parachute, the Alto NG is reliable and safe. Learn more about the Alto NG at directflyusa.com.
Flying is my entire life. It's all that I've ever known. I've relied on Hartzell propellers since about 1995. Hartzell means much more than a propeller. It's a relationship. When you hear the phrase, built on honor, they care about us as pilots, they care about our community, and they care about the product they build. It's such a proud honor to fly behind that propeller.
Looking for a new generation of proven and efficient aviation power plants that boast modern engineering, electronic ignition, and both direct and gear drive systems? With 100 horsepower to 240 horsepower, the Skyline and Redline engines offer uncommon value in an overpriced industry. Whether you are looking for fixed wing or rotor, MW Fly Americas has been established to service the American market with dedication and expertise. MWFlyAmericas.com.
over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated, an even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.